Are we looking at a giant palm leaf sheet in the background? What exactly is that?
Um, uh, yeah, well, why don't you tell your viewers that it is just one of the many walls in my giant palatial mansion?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. How are you doing? It seems like a loaded question these days, but actually, how are you doing?
Fine.
Yeah.
In this moment, I'm fine.
Yeah. That's what I say. I mean, who knows what the next minute will bring, but
We don't know. We just don't.
no. I was just talking to my housemates here because we're all big Alaska Thunderfuck fans. And I'm not sure if he told me this so that you could shame me or not, but he told me that I should let you know that I've decided to go old school with my hair and use mousse, some vintage hair products that offer a little more curl. I don't know what you're using. Yeah, it seems like you're impressed.
I love mousse. Ever since I was a kid, I've always loved it because it's so like fluffy and fierce. You can still get mousse.
Tresemme mousse at Kroger.
I
Yeah.
want to use mousse.
Yeah, it's sort of fun to play with, right? It's just like foam that smells like alcohol, like rubbing alcohol. Who doesn't want
That's like all my favorite things.
to? Well, so I feel like with this comedy special, Alaska's extra special comedy special, you keep just checking boxes, drag queen, comedy queen. What can't Alaska do is my question for you.
I can't do math really good. So I have an amazing accountant. I can't do math. And I don't know how to use TikTok. I cannot figure it out. My 10-year-old niece is really good at it. She can't. But no, I thought I would try and show my variety as and try to do comedy. I know I've always been just a look queen and just a glamour girl. So this is a huge step for me to try and tell jokes.
Yeah, do you feel like a career in drag has sort of prepared you for this next comedy venture?
I mean, yeah, I think. I don't know. It's hard. It was hard and I was really trepidatious about doing it because I was like, I'm not I yes, I'm funny, but I'm not like a comedian. Like I have so much respect for comedians who go out there and pound the fucking circuit of like comedy clubs and like having bottles thrown at them and like learning their craft. I'm like I am a visual artist who does drag who can tell jokes sometimes with an okay success rate. So no, I mean I don't know. It's cool. It was really fun.
Yeah, fun. Was it harder than you thought it would be?
I mean the jokes part, that was great. That was fun. It was like learning how to do dance moves. That was harder.
I
And
feel
I couldn't just like do a comedy special where I tell jokes. That I had to be too much. I had to be team too much and I had to like put in musical numbers and dance numbers and a drag contest and everything.
yeah. I know, I mean like you being extra, okay, that's just like not a stretch if I'm
Right. Here I sit. I sit before you in a zebra hat, zebra dress in front of a palm leaf on pink background. So yeah.
Are we looking at a are we looking at a giant palm leaf sheet in the background? What exactly is that?
Um uh, yeah, well, why don't you tell your viewers that it is just one of the many walls in my giant palatial mansion?
That's
Let's It's expensive wallpaper. It may appear to be a duvet cover, barely pinned to the ceiling, barely covering the mess of fucking drag behind it. But don't let your eyes deceive you. It is just one of the many huge walls in my mansion.
a mansion that surely we all hope to visit when we're all vaccinated.
Of course.
were you okay, so going back, were you a funny kid? Were you like the class clown? Did people find you funny when you were a child?
I mean, my family, like in my family, like my family has a fucking amazing sense of humor, and they're like so funny. Like my mom is so hilarious. Like my dad was really funny. My uncles are like the stupidest, funniest people ever. So like humor was always going around and happening in my family, but like I was never a funny kid because I was too shy and I was too scared of people, and I was like, I'm gay and I'm weird and I just want to hide in my room. So like no, I was not necessarily, no, I was not the class clown at all.
Was comedy a defense mechanism for you, as it was a lot of gay kids?
See, for me it never got to that point. I just like my defense mechanism was not being seen. Like I just tried to like disappear. I tried to like be a gecko and like change to the color of the wall.
Yeah. Okay.
That was my defense mechanism.
Hey, that was
As I'm doing right now, because this is similar to that. So,
yeah, right. Just sort of blending into the
yeah.
to the background. Yeah, that helps too. With your parents, you said that they were funny, just sort of innately funny. Do you think? What do you think they would think of this comedy special? Would they laugh at some of the more crass jokes in this?
I think my mom will like it. I mean, my mom, like, my mom has never been the one to be like, that's my grandma's the one who says, your show was really great, but you shouldn't swear so much. She's very that. My mom is like, I thought it was fucking great. She'll love it. She'll be really into it.
How are you feeling now that it's about to be released into the world? Because watching it, it was clear to me that you had some trepidation because you reached out to some queens and Margaret Cho to sort of, I think, get a little bit of a confidence boost. So, how do you feel knowing that the world will see this soon?
I feel great about it now. And it's been so long. It's been 87 years since we filmed this. It's been so long. And literally, it's not an understatement to say the entire world has changed so much. We filmed this in pre-COVID Hollywood, California, and it was like and then it was like a few months went by, COVID happened, like the quarantine happened, like all these things happened. And then I was like, then we were like looking at the comedy special to like start moving forward with putting it out, and I was like, is this appropriate? Why the fuck do I need to be like, look at me telling jokes, toots? It's like, this is not like, should I even be doing this? What the fuck is going on? So luckily, so we took that like trepidation and we made it a part of the thing, a part of the movie. And so like we have interviews with my comedy guru mentors, and they help assure me that the world needs laughter and comedy now more than I think ever.
Yeah, I mean, there is something to be said about laughter being medicine because it is one of the things that has gotten me through this last year. Just laughing myself silly with my friends, watching Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar, which you could have been in that movie based on that background. I mean, I don't know why you weren't.
I know I was supposed to be Reba McEntire's part, but it's okay. I read for it.
Yeah, okay, Trish. You're the real Trish, is what you're telling me.
I was Reba McEntire was 12th in line to play Trish. I was 11th. She got it. Okay.
Sounds right to me. Who am I to judge? Uh, well, okay, so back up. Let's go to before the comedy special even took place. Like, what kind of workshopping went into you preparing for the special? Like, where did the jokes come from? How long did it take you to write them and work on them?
I'm constantly writing jokes, and a lot of them are just really horrible, like and they're not funny. But like if I hear someone say a word on a thing and then I think of something that rhymes with it, and I write it down in a file. And so I took it was basically years worth of just bad jokes that I had written, and I was like, we're clearing out the file with this comedy special, okay? We're gonna put the puns in there. We're gonna put the fucking poop jokes in there. We're gonna put the drug jokes in there. Um, uh, and and so the way to make them all like sort of apply was like making up this sort of comedian character, because like to me a lot like Alaska doesn't talk about like dating people or doing drugs, or like she doesn't talk about that stuff. Like she maybe does them, but she doesn't talk about it. So I had to like make it this other character, which is like this comedian character that Sherry Vine calls who she call it something Rivers,
Oh, Phyllis Rivers.
Phyllis Rivers, yeah, because it's like a mixture of Phyllis Diller and Joan Rivers. But yeah, I just cleared out my joke file, and some of them are good. Some of them you could hear a pin drop, but you know what? That's comedy.
Yeah, well, you didn't really know it until then, though. So in the moment when the
I did no workshopping. This was not a finessed comedy set that I had built for years, trying out with audiences, trying out different wording. It was literally like, here's the jokes.
it
Hope you like them.
really was. Okay, okay.
It really was.
So like when you're up there and the jokes are not hitting like you had hoped they would, like what are you feeling?
I was feeling like this is going to be good footage. Good. Keep in the dead silence after. You could hear a fucking, it's like the moment before a nuclear bomb drops. It's just perfect pin drop silence.
And then you turned it into a joke. You know, remarkably, it was like, well, we'll just put the laughter in post.
Yeah. The magic of cinema.
Yeah, we'll CGI everything. So good. What, so you invited some people to give their commentary on the comedy special, and I was curious after seeing you talk to Margaret Cho, who is one of your comedy idols.
Yeah.
Who else are some of those people who really did it for you, especially growing up, the comedians who you really look to?
Well, I always loved TV. Like I was really obsessed with TV. I was always getting told I watched too much TV as a child. So it was like sitcom jokes, that sort of rhythm of like the setup and the knockdown and the punchline is sort of like ingrained in me. Like the Golden Girls is a part of my bloodstream. Like that's sort of like kind of hokey jokey. Here's the setup. You see it from a mile away, and there it is, you know? So, like, I love that sort of comedy, which is also why I love Phyllis Diller and I love Joan Rivers and I love, uh, sorry, I'm drinking LaCroix, so I'm burping. I
Totally.
I love Rodney Dangerfield so much. Just like wacky, like goofy, like that type of humor is my shit. It's my jams.
I don't want to get too far off the grid here, but since you brought up the Golden Girls, it seems like a good time to, and maybe it's too soon to ask you what you thought of Elliott's Blanche on the new season of Drag Race.
Leave meeting. No, liter she well the thing is it was stacked against her from the beginning, and even RuPaul said, she said, Molly, you're a danger girl. During the walkthrough, RuPaul was like, just don't do it, babe. You're gonna drown, man. You're gonna drown. And she kind of did. It's too now, would I go in if I got to go do Snatch Game again, I would probably that was gonna be one of my characters. If I didn't do Mae West, it was going to be Rue McClanahan. So like that's my backup, Gorge. So if I ever go back on Drag Race, I probably will do it. And I will rise up to the challenge, and I hope that it goes better than Elliott Tina's.
And it does seem like, when it's a character that's just so embedded in gay culture, it is a really challenging thing to pull off, as we've seen.
It is, and if it isn't done, like anything less than like perfection in trying to execute that is just not going to land at all. And unfortunately, that happened with Elliott, but she tried. She tried it.
Well, thinking about sort of becoming a person, I wondered, how did the comedy jacket and the comedy wig and the entire comedy look help you get into the comedy zone for the comedy special?
I like that stuff. It's like, and it's really, it comes down to the power of like the power of clothing and the power of drag. It's like different clothes literally make you feel a different way. They make you hold yourself a different way. You you walk differently. So like I found it very important to put on the big oversized blazer. I needed it. I needed some no frills hair, so I wasn't worrying about whether my fucking Cher hair was my taste hair was just flowing. Like no, I just needed short little crazy hair. And it's very like a Phyllis Diller thing, is like she would lower her she would try and make herself look uglier on stage. So she would also like lower her status as a character. She would be like, I want to look like a clown, like I want to look crazy, I want to look not pretty, so that I can make fun of how fucking ugly I am, and how fucking poor and stupid, like that's funnier than being like, hi, I'm rich and I'm glamorous and oh, everybody wants to fuck me and oh my god, that's not fucking funny to me.
How I know we touched a little bit on this earlier, Alaska, but I kind of am really interested in exploring it a little bit more. How is being a drag queen good training for being a comedian?
Well, to me, they're not that different. Well, I mean, they're not that different of a thing, because I think drag inherently is rooted in humor, because it's sort of poking fun at the idea of conventions of what is gender, like what is it that makes a man in this society and makes a woman in this society. And those rules are ultimately so arbitrary and so out of nowhere and so just like absurd. So drag clowns all of those conventions and like calls them into question and makes fun of them and winks at you while it's doing it. So like I think that is inherently, there is humor in the like in that, in the absurdity of just like, what the fuck is gender, what is society, what is clothing? It's absurd.
I want to talk a little bit about and shift to you being a queen in quarantine this last year, because you've, like every other person and like every other drag queen, you've really had to think on your toes and pivot. And you've been doing yeah, it's a lot of thinking, a lot of doing, it's a lot of like change. But what has it been like, generally speaking, to be a queen in quarantine last year or this last year?
It's been really hard. I mean, it's been a really hard, like, worldwide thing. And it was really hard on the drag community because overnight it was like all of your places that you do your thing are gone now. They're closed. So what is that, and you're also last in line to come back. So so it was like, it was really hard on the drag community, but it's also really inspiring because the next day the queens were all like, Okay, well, I have a digital show now, and I'm doing a show on Twitch, and I have a weekly show on Instagram, and so like it's been really hard, but it's been like it's inspiring to see that like drag can survive the apocalypse.
I mean, if anybody knows resiliency, it's the queens, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Are you still into these drive-in shows? Are they weird? Do you want to ever do them again post-pandemic?
It is a little weird because everyone is so far away, and I'm the type of performer I like to sweat on you and like get I want you to spit on me when you're screaming, like I want to share the microphone with you and exchange fluids with you when I'm on stage. Like that's how I like to do it. But that it's probably not going to be that again anytime soon. Probably that's fine. Now that I think of it, for sanitary purposes, but for like safety purposes. But like I love getting to be on stage, and yes, the audience is really spread out and they're farther away, but you still get that vibe of like having an actual audience, and there's nothing that can replace that. It's why it's been happening for since humans existed.
Yeah.
It's nature.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say what's going to happen with venues and whether they're going to open soon or not. There seems to be opportunities for outdoor performance as you've experienced, and perhaps, yeah, you won't be able to spit on anybody or get your gender fluid on anyone, but and there'll come a time, and I think I'm excited about that. So I think everybody's excited about that. Just
One day.
poke me, give me the poke so I can get some of that Alaska spit on me.
All right. You bet.
I I was I loved seeing that a drag king won the your very own drag competition, the Drag Queen of the Year pageant competition awards contest competition. It's a mouthful. You know a mouthful. I know a mouthful. That's a mouthful. The the competition was all inclusive. Knowing that, what forms of drag would you like to see elevated, and how would you like to see the art form diversify moving forward?
Well, the thing for me, and like the reason Lola and I started doing the Drag Queen of the Year pageant is like drag has always been crazy diverse. Like crazy, like it it has always been you're sharing a dressing room with the drag kings and the AFAB performers and the male performers and the burlesque performers, and everyone has been anyone who has done drag for more than 5 minutes knows that to be the reality. So we found it really strange that there wasn't a competition that sort of was open to all these different avenues of drag, and it was always very like compartmentalized. So we were like, what if we just did it and like saw what happened? So we did it as an experiment, and it was really major, and the show was incredible. So like I mean, Drag Race is the sort of gold standard of drag competitions in the current like landscape of the world. And the good thing that's hopeful is Drag Race is always changing it up and always evolving with the times. So like I I could see a drag king getting thrown into the mix. I could see an AFAB performer uh getting thrown into the mix. You know what I mean? I think it's possible. So who knows? Anus thing is possible.
I need that. I need that shirt. I need that on every article of clothing. I just need to remember that to get me through the pandemic.
Exactly.
um, I think that that's true. I also wonder if it's taken too long to um, get to where Drag Race has gotten. You know, we're on season 13. I guess yes, it's great that the first trans contestant is a part of the show. Do you think that there are too many rules on the show in general?
Well, uh I think okay, the show is really great. I love the fucking show. and a lot of people do, and it's changed culture and it's changed the world. And so like, but you know, they do have rules to entry. If it were up to me, I would blow the walls off and I would say like, let's have everyone apply and see what that looks like. Do I think that's going to happen? Probably not like anytime soon, but it is hopeful to see that like the people who put on the show Drag Race are very aware of of culture, and they are always like actively changing the show and keeping it fresh and keeping it current. So like that makes me hopeful.
Um, you've been using your podcast, Race Chaser, to talk politics a lot these days, which I love seeing. Has it made you more aware of certain political issues? Are there things that fans have brought up to you and have brought to you and Willem's attention that you didn't consider before?
Yeah, definitely. And like when we first started doing like Hot Goss as the like ancillary show, the sister show to to the Drag Race review of Race Chaser, we were like, I was watching The View a lot, and I still do. And I was like, and I read that book that's about like The View and like the history of the show The View. And I was like, I think we should talk about politics. I think that this is like, it's important to stay informed, and like, yes, like gossip and like, you know, frivolous stuff is great, but our world is wild right now, and it's important to stay active and like aware of things. So I'm glad we did that. Listen, I'm not a political expert by any means. I don't know shit about a lot of shit, but I'm glad we do that segment, Let's Get Political, because it teaches me about politics here. It teaches me about politics in other countries. And like generally, like I don't see why I don't see anything wrong with that. I think it's good. And if I learn something, then hopefully someone listening can too.
Yeah. On that note of being political and speaking out, how did you feel about Rock'em Sakura coming out about her past with sex work in the wake of the alleged anti-Asian shootings in Atlanta?
I I what did Rock'em Sakura say? I don't know.
Oh, well, Rock came out and said that I was a past sex worker and did it to sort of um, break the stigma that there is on sex
Yeah.
workers in general, but particularly when it comes to those in the Asian community.
No, definitely. And I think that's amazing that they did that. Uh because it is something that is baked into the foundation of this country is white supremacy, okay? Which also goes with it. I mean, the anti-Asian rhetoric that has existed, the anti-Semitic rhetoric that has existed, the anti-Black, anti-immigrant, anti-people of color, all of these things are baked into the foundation of this country. And that's why we have to have these conversations, and we have to address these things in order to like suck the poison out of the wound, in order for us to like actually get together and move forward. That has to happen. And because it's ghastly, and it's like, yes, we can blame Donald Trump for his rhetoric and his use of like phrases and things, which is really fucked up. But if it wasn't baked into the traditions and of this nation from time immemorial, then from the outset of this country, which was stolen from people, okay, so like if so so Donald Trump's rhetoric triggers these things, and then it's already there and we see it manifest. So like, yes, it's a horrible problem. I'm glad that Rock fucking spoke out about that, and everyone who has.
And I guess to end, what is next for you? You have a drive-in show, I think, in a couple of days, or maybe it was yesterday, maybe it's tomorrow. I don't know days anymore. You have to understand. But what is next for you? Might you record another album at some point?
Maybe.
Okay, you're in the studio.
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Stay tuned, definitely. But yeah, I know we just did a drive-in show a few days ago. It was magic, it was fierce. And we're always working on stuff, so stay tuned.
And we will. Alaska, it's been so great. We've got 10 seconds, I think. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.